Hello, I've been wanting to tell you the whole story about the manatees that kept coming to our dock this summer. It was just so interesting to see what their daily habits were and to see who came by. Here's what I was working on.
Honestly, I will have to say, I'm not a huge fan of construction work, but I've gotten all that part of the roof down all the way back to there. So I just have a little bit up toward the peak left to go, and I might even call it a day. I wanted to get both sides done, but I think I'll be satisfied with one side.
Bill and I had saved for a couple years to replace our dock, which is 365 feet long. Quite the undertaking. A derelict houseboat that did not qualify for derelict vessel status because it lacked propulsion or steering washed up against our dock, and hurricane season was coming. I knew that if a hurricane came, that houseboat would wreck part of our dock, possibly our neighbor's docks, and so we took it upon ourselves to take the necessary steps to move it. And I guess there's a silver lining in a lot of things because it ended up being one of the most amazing experiences of the summer.
She's so big, you can't see her at all, but she's huge.
The last time I had spent that much time out on that part of the river was when I was working on my master's degree, and I would drag my books out to the T at the end of the dock, and my dog and I would sit there for hours while I took notes and studied. Working on this houseboat demolition project put me out there with a pretty good vantage point of all of the river around, and I could keep an eye from the upstairs. Here I am from the upstairs looking to see the manatees coming in, and I got to where I could spot them several docks away, and you can hardly tell, but there are manatees right there in this video. And once you know what you're looking for the disturbed water pattern, it becomes really easy to spot them and watch them as they come on in. The really unusual thing was I wasn't using quiet tools. I was using circular saws. We were using drills. We were using all sorts of really noisy equipment, and I thought that would have had the opposite effect. I thought that would have scared the manatees away from the area. Instead, they seemed very curious and they kept coming by. It was like they were checking to see what I was doing, and every minute with them was so special. In fact, a bit of an epiphany. This was really hard work, and it was really dirty and nasty work, and the manatees coming by reminded me why I was doing the work.
Look who's back! Actually, this is just one. I don't see a baby this time.
That it was for them that I was making sure to do such a clean demolition job. I was making sure to keep all debris out of the water, none of the roof shingles, no insulation, fibers, anything like that. All of that was kept out of the river, and it took seeing these beautiful creatures day after day coming to check on my progress to realize that I wasn't just doing this for me. I wasn't just doing this for our investment. We weren't just tearing this thing apart for our dock. We were making sure to protect the environment, to do our part to make sure that these creatures did not accidentally ingest anything that they shouldn't have. Working from the upstairs, I could video straight down into the water, and I could see them approaching, and they would approach and look. Something really odd is that part of this houseboat had red paint on it, and years ago at Comanche Cove, I remember there was a day that there was a manatee in the marina, and I had on a red shirt and everyone else had on a different color shirt, and that manatee followed me from dock to slip to boat, kept following me, and maybe they're attracted to the red. One thing about feeding or watering manatees, I'm completely against it because I think it reduces their inhibitions. It draws them to areas where there are propellers, where there are dangerous things like people and boats that could strike them, and it also increases their dependency on humans when they need to be doing their own animal things and being very independent. I did attempt some underwater photography, and you're going to see just exactly what the visibility is in the St. Johns River. It's not pollution, but rather it's more like when you make tea. There's a lot of tannic acid in the river from leaves falling into the river, and these leaves actually stain the water just like tea does, and the results are it doesn't make you want to jump in with a mask and snorkel and go looking for anything. It's pretty dark, pretty low visibility. But I gave it a try anyway. Bill set up the GoPro for me. I have it here on a long pole. And I lowered it into the water when the manatees were probably about 10 to 15 feet away. That's all you could see. That's it. No big shapes there in the distance. And I thought, well, maybe when they come a little bit closer, maybe when they're really, really close, I could just kind of really gently ease the GoPro into the water and maybe get some video of their cute faces. I watched their approach, and I thought, when they get really close, I will just lower the GoPro into the water right next to the pontoon of the boat. They won't even notice it. It won't disturb them. So I was standing on the back side of the houseboat right there on the corner. Stood on the edge, poured, and it broke, and landed in the bottom. I couldn't believe it. I've spent my entire life around rickety docks and boats, and I neglected the number one rule: don't stand on the very end of a board because it might break, and I fell in. I was so disappointed. You probably could tell from the video that I was out of the water so fast. I was petrified that I was going to scare the manatees. I just didn't know what to think, and I didn't want to scare them, so I got out of the water as quick as I could. And I spent the next couple hours feeling pretty lousy about falling into the water right in front of them. And then I started to think about it logically. Actually, when they're along the banks of the river, I'm pretty sure there are times that a tree will fall, or branches will fall, or something will fall in the water. And it doesn't mean danger necessarily. It doesn't mean that they're any risk or they are about to come to any harm. It's just part of nature. So I had to think of it like that me falling off the edge of the houseboat was just like a tree falling in the woods, and they probably took very little note of it. I was worried they wouldn't come back. They did. They came back over and over and over, and they kept watching all of my progress on the houseboat. So the manatees were right over here, and they got closer and closer and closer, and Bill had set up a GoPro pole for me, and we had a long discussion about what constitutes harassment of manatees. And we were trying to decide if you are working on your dock and they come and swim under it. They approached you, you didn't approach them. And I know you're supposed to stay a certain distance away, but I was in the middle of working and couldn't necessarily monitor all the times that they were there. So I did get a little work done here. So they came around and they came around and they were getting closer and they were getting closer. And then they were right over here. And so I texted Bill and said, I'm about to shoot some video of them.
and I went right over to there to where you see that one board that actually is cut cleanly, so it must have just been a scarfed in piece. And I guess I kneeled down right there to put the GoPro in the water, and splash, I landed in about a foot of water. So the manatees are both right here, one right there, one right here. I'm gonna see if I can film them. I sure do like seeing them come by here every day, and I certainly didn't mean to scare them. I just fell in. And that was the big manatee story for today. So I'm soaking wet.
And it looks like I have a little bit of fog in my camera, so time to get it out of the case and look at this again.
Despite not intending to go for a swim today, I went for a swim. I've got my phone case out. Looks like this was a good thing. I got to see that there's a little tiny little hole in it. I could see because it fogged up right by that part, but the rest of it is fine, so it's probably for a new case. This one's a couple of years old. I love these life. They work great on the boat and saved my phone from the manatees. So I'm going to head in, load the last of what I was loading, and our new phone case. How bored are you? How bored are you? How bored are you? Am I not working fast enough? Are you bored, kitty? Look, there's birds. There's fish. There's manatees. And somebody working. I guess you just like to watch me work.
After several hundred hours of work, I was able to demolish the houseboat, and our manatee friends still came. These shots are when there was a huge amount of pollen on the water, and it made the most beautiful, inky, gorgeous designs on the water. We're still enjoying kayaking and hanging out on the dock, but now that it's winter, we are not seeing the manatees here, but we're looking forward to seeing them next summer, now that we know that they have a definite route, a definite routine, and that they come back year after year and visit us.